Hey, what's up? In this training video, what we're going to be going over is what I consider is the best long run training strategy leading up to your race. If you're new here, my name is Eric. I am an active trail and ultra runner myself, as well as a USCA certified trail and ultra running coach. And this strategy isn't something that I just came up with like overnight and threw together. It actually took me like 4 or 5 years to really dial it in. And I was using it on myself first to work out some problems that I was having. And it really just was a game changer in my own personal ultra running that I started giving it to the athletes I get to work with. Here's a couple pictures of some of the runners that I've helped along their way to really go on to have really successful races and just excited to see where they're going. And then I started putting it into my template training plans that's over on the left. So maybe not the 25K, but in the 50K, 50 miler, and 100K, you'll hear me note it because all those training guides have videos that correspond with the training to help you just have a successful race and know that you're hitting the certain milestones along the way. So what I'm going to be covering in this long run strategy is like how you're going to get dialed for the race you're training for. So you're going to show up like with confidence, to that starting line, knowing that you put in like real good work and practice leading up to it. I'm also going to cover like how long the run should be for each distance, from a 50K all the way up to 100K, and then also actually all the way up to a 100 miler. And then when you're doing it, when to do it during your training, like how many weeks ahead is it, or if it's going to be too close to the race to recover from. So the mindset that I like to encourage people to keep when they go into it is like, what are you going to gain by doing this? Because it's practice for the big day. Lots of times as runners and trail and ultra runners, like we like hitting the trails and going out there and just logging in miles because we like being outside and we just like running. But remember that this is just a practice strategy that's going to help you like gain confidence. Like yes, you're going to gain fitness by doing it. It is a long run, but you're also going to gain confidence by dialing in your pace and your nutrition. And then we're also going to be practicing aid station efficiency. So because people lose so much time in aid stations, and like most average people lose an hour or more depending on how long the race is. You know that they could have knocked off, that they could have been moving forward. So this is going to help you get dialed to do that when it comes to race day. All right, so before we go out and just start running, there's a little bit of homework that you need to do prior to this, and it's not much. It takes a couple minutes to do it. So first, you're going to have to do a little bit of math. Figure out that average elevation, like foot per mile for your race. So an example is a 50K with 5,000 feet of elevation through the whole race is going to be about 161 feet per mile. So if you have a flatter race, you're going to be probably doing like 100 feet or less. Or if you're lucky enough to be like one of those people who gets into hard rock, where you're going to be averaging 330 feet per mile, you're going to do that math and try to find an out and back or create a loop somewhere around your house, or if you have to drive a little bit to do it, that is about 45 minutes to an hour long to get, either to complete the loop or to do the out and back. The reason I suggest this is because or why I emphasize this is because it's really going to pay off big time when we go into practicing that aid station for fueling, hydration, and just getting in and out. So here's a picture of a loop that I did in the local trails around my house. This was getting ready for a 100-mile race. So as you can see, it was 31 miles that I put in that day with an elevation of just over 5,000 feet. So it was a good run. And I've done this multiple times, not only with my own personal training, but like I said, also with the athletes that I get to work with. So there's two reasons why I really encourage time on feet over miles. But in certain situations where this, for instance, was a road run that I did, a couple loops around my neighborhood because it was raining like really hard the day that I went out for this training run. And so instead of going out the trails and just slogging around through the mud, really just not being too beneficial for training, I knew I'd be moving faster on the road. So I put a mileage cap. So it was either 6 hours or 30 miles, whatever came first. Because if we're moving faster, if you're a faster runner, or in a certain scenario like this where you don't have access to trails, like just through all this, like keep it simple. If you don't have access to trails, just create a loop around your house, around a park, or your neighborhood or something like that. We're practicing aid station efficiency and nutrition. That's like the whole point of this training run. But if we can match the elevation profile of our race, that's just icing on the cake. So for this, it was 6 hours or or 30 miles, whatever came first, and working on nutrition, as you can see in the notes, and I nailed it. So that's what I really want to stress with you when you go out there for this training run. So now that you got your loop or your out and back figured out, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to work on all different kinds of nutrition, like stuff that you know works for you, like gels or chews or peanut butter sandwiches, and new stuff that you maybe haven't tried before. So on each loop, we're going to try something else different, but always have in a backup something that you know works, just in case your stomach starts feeling a little weird along the way. That the reason we're doing this is because in a scenario in a race where, like, for instance, like an athlete that I was training, his nutrition had been dialed leading up to his race, but come race day, for some reason his stomach didn't accept it, and the chews and the gels that he'd been practicing with all summer long, just he couldn't eat, so he had to resort to different kinds of foods. So luckily we had work on that during training, that when he got to the aid stations, they had bacon and burritos and stuff like that, and he knew that, okay, I practiced this during my training, so I'm not afraid to eat it during the race, because the one rule that we all know is don't try anything new on race day. So if you practice it now, and the more times we do this leading up to the race, the better chances we are going to have at success. And then also, if you're using a crew, this is a perfect time to, bring them out and get them used to providing you aid, whether it's emptying trash and throwing it away, or filling up your water bottles and putting in whatever supplement you put in your water bottles. So they're all on the same page. So if you need to bribe them with breakfast or lunch afterwards, like, it's a great way to do it. And then also for athletes who aren't going to use a crew, who are just relying on aid stations at the race, go on the race organizer's website and check out what they're going to be providing at those aid stations, so you can buy all that stuff and then practice it during your training, so you know if they have pretzels or if they have pickles or if they have quesadillas. One of the things that I love, that I found out that works for me and when I have a cruise, sushi rolls. I love California rolls and watermelon and stuff like that, and it's become one of my favorites. Mashed potato burritos for when I'm doing a 100K or 100 miler, like in the middle of the night, like, they are just awesome. Coca-Cola, if you've never tried drinking Coke during a race, do it during your practice. You'll be amazed about the different stuff that hits different at different times of your run. When it's warmer, some people like salty food. When it's colder, some people like sweet food. So just check it out, and you'll see, like, as the hours progress and each time you come into your mock practice aid station, your taste might change or your palate might change. Where in the morning you can eat solid foods, but by the time you're done, like, all you want is a gel or liquid nutrition. So that is like the whole point of this run, is to practice before you get out to the race. So how far ahead of the race should we be doing this? But before I touch on that, one thing I want to bring up is, do not overrun. Do not run too fast unless you are a seasoned, experienced runner and you know your stomach can handle a high intensity, high effort level, and still be able to fuel yourself at the same time. If you're newer, the slower you go, the easier it is going to be to keep eating food. And most DNFs happen because of a lack of nutrition, where you're not getting enough fuel into your body, and then your motivation and your inspiration goes down the drain, and your mind says quit, and it becomes really easy to quit just because you're not eating enough. So the reason I want to stress going slower at first until you get this all dialed is because as we're running harder, our body's using blood and putting it into our legs and into our arms. And then also, if it's warmer, it's using our blood to get out to our skin to cool ourselves down. And as soon as you start eating, your stomach needs blood to help to start the digestion process. But if your blood's everywhere else except for your stomach, and then you throw 200, 300, 400 calories in at one time, you're going to shock, and it's going to be like, what the heck did you just do to me? Like, and that's how a lot of nausea starts. And then people start throwing up, is because they didn't go slow enough, to be able to take in the nutrition that they need. Another tip that I like to do is, prior, like maybe 15, 20 minutes leading up to an aid station, I'll start eating some, I love honey stringer chews. I'll put a couple of chews in my mouth and get those into my stomach before I get to the aid station, just to prime the tank, if you want to call it that. Let my stomach know, okay, hey, time to start eating again. Let's get ready for that. Okay, but now, how far ahead of the race should we be doing this? Okay, optimally, ultimately, optimally, however you want to say that, we'd want to do it 2 times before the race, about 6 weeks out and about 3 weeks out. And then ideally, if time is on your side, we want to do this, 3 to 4 times leading up to it, all different increments. And I'm going to go over long, how long or how far each race run should be for each distance on the next slide. But 6 weeks ahead and 3 weeks ahead. That way, if you uncover something or you have questions about something that you ate or tried on the first go around, you can dial it in on the second go around. So how long should your runs be for each distance? Well, we're going to combine 50K and 50 miler and 100K and 100 miler into their own 2 categories. So for 50K and 100 miler, I would say 4 hours tops. That's all you really need. And for a mileage cap, I would say 22 to about 24 miles if you hit those certain, distances in between. So the only reason, like if you have time to recover after, for a 50K or maybe a 50 miler. For a 50K, I wouldn't go really longer than 4 hours because most people finish, 50Ks between 6 and about 10 hours. So, we don't really need to go longer than that. For a 50 miler, if you want to do a 50K train run before and you have ample time to recover after that, that's okay. But 4 hours should be sufficient. And that will give you enough time to hit your mock aid station 3 or 4 times if you're doing 45 minutes to an hour in between. Okay, for 100K and 100 miler, you might be thinking like, oh, I'm going to do a 10-hour run or a 12-hour run, or I have to do a 50-mile race to get ready for a 100 miler. And that's false. I mean, you can do it if you just want to build confidence, if you have like months and months to recover, in between. But I mean, I've trained athletes and for my own training for 100 milers, 6 hours is all I do for these training runs, because remember, we're practicing. Like, this isn't really a volume intense drill, if you want to call it this. It's for aid station efficiency. So because on a 100 miler you can lose 3, 4, 5 hours or more just in aid stations. So the quicker and the better we get at getting in and out of aid stations, the more time we're going to save moving forwards towards our end goal. So for 100K, 100 miler, 6 hours with a 30 mile or 50K cap, maybe 35 miles if you're, one of those faster runners. But like for me and for the athletes I've trained for up to 100 milers, 6 hours doing this is more than enough time to like really dial it in, just build that confidence, and knowing that I put in the work in my nutrition and my hydration and even my pacing to get ready to toe the line with confidence to get that finish. Well, that wraps this training video up. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure to drop a comment below. Are you going to try it? If you have any questions, I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Or if you just want to say hi and let me know if this video was good or not. Also, if you want to learn more about working with myself and My Endurance Life, just go to my website, myendurancelife.com. I also left a link in the description below where you can get the 50K training guide for free and also take your fit test and see how you're doing. All right. Well, thanks again. Make sure to subscribe and do all that other stuff. Talk to you soon.